Hi everyone, George here again with Brendan Somerville, who is one of our long-term members of SPH Queensland, living with Sunshine Coast. And Brendan and I are both working with SPH at this present time as peer mentors. Hey Brendan, how are you today, mate?
Yeah, good, thanks, George.
That's great. Brendan, let's start off by talking about your high school experience. Like, how did you cope with and influence did shape your experience living with SPH?
So my high school experience overall was very positive. I think I was lucky. I went to a school with a special education unit where I had lunches with other students and met with teacher aides before classes, and that were there with other students who were not in the special education unit. My teachers were all supportive, and they didn't let me get away with any poor behaviour or bad work. So the special education unit worked with my parents and SPH Queensland occupational therapists, physiotherapists, to come up with an individual learning plan that was designed to alert teachers and teacher aides to my support needs in the classroom and in preparing for my classes. So in between, I was able to choose from the various levels of subjects. For example, English classes, I could choose between, English A, B, or English communications. I chose to do English communications as a vocational subject because it focused on vocation. And I also chose to do a remedial mathematics class because mathematics has never been my forte. So I also got to do experience with woodwork and metalwork and home economics. Yeah.
Okay, so that brings me to another question there, Brendan. With having SPH using a wheelchair, what was the access like at the school?
So I went to Bray Park State High School and the access was great. It was all ramped. At the time, there was no steps of any kind. Maybe the only access issue that I would say that I had was getting to the oval. But otherwise, they always tried to find alternative activities for me to do, in relation to, doing a sports day or something like that. If I couldn't get to the oval, then I got to go do, archery or bowling or something like that. So it was great.
Oh, great. So they were inclusive, but getting you to do other stuff instead of joining in on the oval because you couldn't get there.
Yeah, but I got to do it with other students who also had access issues.
Oh, great. That's great. Okay, mate. So challenges. So what were some of the challenges you faced finding and keeping a job that started your career? I think you were into HR before you come and joined us at SPH?
Yes. Yep. So I had an HR consultancy for 3 years. And I guess the thing that got me into that was I did a traineeship in business administration, and I got to help the recruitment officer there to shortlist resumes of trainees and apprentices who were applying for positions. And I really enjoyed it. So some of the challenges was that I wasn't aware that people were worried about my ability as a younger person, not really being aware of the world, I suppose. And so I didn't really focus on, telling people about my disability. And I didn't really know how to tell them, how to support me, because I guess I didn't know what I was going to come up against. So I think that was a bit of a barrier for me because, people, they would say things like cultural fit and all that kind of thing as their reason for not, shortlisting me for a role. And I feel like it was probably down to that. They didn't quite understand how they could support me. And not understanding how to get the most out of appointments with the Disability Employment Service and navigating Centrelink were some of the challenges that I had in particular. I've since found out that the navigating the appointments with the Disability Employment Service, that you really need to be very clear and very direct with them about what it is that you expect in terms of support. Otherwise, it will just be a tick and click exercise for you to go in there every fortnight and report and maybe discuss some of the things that you're experiencing, but nothing will actually be done to support you unless you tell them that that's what you want.
Yeah. So, mate, so before you did the traineeship, what were you working in before that?
I worked as an admin clerk in an aged care facility. So that was my very first job. So previous to that, I just worked as a volunteer in a nursing home, reading newspapers to long-term residents and playing games and things like that. But in that admin clerk role, I was doing filing and I was doing stationery stock take and replenishing stock and doing facility tours as well. So introducing prospective, residents to the facility and showing them where everything was. And yeah.
Okay, so we'll move on. Now, experience living independence with SPH. What's the biggest assumptions that you think others make about disability or your ability?
So I'm not sure about you, George, but I get this a lot. People seem to, I feel, they assume that I suffer because I am in a wheelchair and that I have a disability. And so that I need help and that I actually want help all the time. Or that I'm there to talk to about their personal life experience. With anyone who decides to strike up a conversation at the shop, or that we all think we deserve everything on a silver platter, is something that I've heard quite a few times, and that we should all be told that we are an inspiration just because we left the house, or that we went to work, or went on a weekend away with friends who also have a disability. So that actually happened this last weekend. So I was with a group of friends away and actually had a medical professional come up to one of my friends and tell them that they were an inspiration because we went away together.
Okay. So how did you handle that?
Well, I wasn't personally involved in that situation at the time, but I normally just thank people, for their kind words and accept that they're, being polite and positive and things like that, and not trying to be, they're not trying to be rude, nasty, or anything like that. So yeah, just take it as a compliment.
So do you think it's that they've never had to deal with anybody with a disability, or do you think they've come from a profession where they see a lot of disabilities a lot of people with disabilities that don't get out and about?
I think it's both. So for the people who come up to me at the shops, I don't know about their history, but I'm assuming it's because they have known somebody with a disability, so they're comfortable coming up to me and talking about all things disability, but not having personal experience of it themselves. Mm-hmm. And then there's also the medical professionals who they probably haven't possibly haven't had the exposure to people with disability who are able and achieving lots of personal goals.
Great, thanks for that. So talking about family, friends and everything, what some of the challenges that you've faced with your family and your friends over the years with having SPH and using a wheelchair every day?
Yeah, so I actually asked my parents about this one as well. But so wheelchair access to venues and facilities, obviously. I use a wheelchair permanently, so I'm in it all day long. Medical emergencies while away. So I've actually been in a situation where I was away from home and, couldn't quickly access an ambulance to get me to the hospital. So I had to be flown to the hospital with a shunt malfunction. So that's a bit of a challenge. So there's also learning my personal care routines before I was actually independent enough to do that for myself. And then there was also teaching, nursing aides who came into my school about my routines and things as well, and also teacher aides. And then there's dealing with my procedural anxiety that I had as a child. Thankfully, that seems to have subsided somewhat. But yeah, I was quite petrified of having the gas mask put on my face. I really did not like that. And then there was the doctors who, they seemed to think that, they knew the best and, everything for me. And, they often didn't really see the whole person. So they just saw the symptoms and things. So, and then there was the teaching me how to do my medical routines and learning how I learnt so that they could help me to remember things by prompting me regularly. And then there was attending spinal clinic days while also having other siblings at school, and managing that balance as well.
Mate, I can say is from my experience being in a hospital, even to this day, I don't like having that mask put on my face while I'm still awake. So you're not the only one, and I totally understand where you're coming from. So I think we can agree to be we're equal on that one. All right, yes. Mate. Yeah, we'll just keep moving on if that's okay.
Sure.
Yeah. So come to the last question. What was and are the key supports SPH Queensland has helped you with, and if you're still ongoing?
So during school, it was mainly occupational therapy and physiotherapy. So physiotherapy mainly in primary school, and then mainly occupational therapy in high school. And to this day now, it's still occupational therapy and a little bit of physiotherapy. So the occupational therapy around everything from, mobility to, prescribing the new wheelchairs and other mobility equipment, like a Waymo hoist on my car, and physiotherapy to help with, age-related injuries with my shoulders and neck and things like that, and social work to help me to, learn how to do things more independently on my own.
Great, thank you, mate. So Brendan, just one more question, mate. I think I cut you off before then when we were speaking about family and and challenges. Did you just want to just say something about that one again?
I'm not sure if I'm going to remember.
It's okay. It's all right. So, mate, just wanted to thank you so much for joining me again today. So, everyone, thanks for joining us. I hope you get a lot of information out of this video with Brendan speaking about his life experiences, through work and through, schooling and growing up with all these different challenges. So, if you'd like more information, please contact the SPH Queensland on 0738444600 or head to our website and you'll find the information there, and we hope to hear from you soon. Have a great day and bye for now.